Make sure you, maybe you're somebody who's a visual learner or someone who listens and learns that way. Find the way that works best for you and try and find that and get that adopted into your style of learning so you can get it, so the seed can be planted. But the message today, if you are writing in a book, is called The Race Marked Out for You. The race marked out for you, Chris, for you, Justine, for you, Dave, for you, Alan. It is the race that's marked out for you. And who's seen that advert? It's the Energizer bunnies. And all of a sudden, they're like the regular batteries are like this, and then they're all like going really slow. And then all of a sudden, they put this Energizer battery in that's like 50 times more powerful than any battery in the market. And all of a sudden, this bunny is just like running around like going crazy. I don't understand. Does anyone understand batteries? How can batteries be like 200 times more powerful than a normal battery? Like, is energy just, what's the difference?
It's not necessarily that they're more powerful, it's more that they last longer.
It makes no sense. It makes sense to Simeon. But the problem was, the Energizer bunny, he got arrested. He has been charged with battery. Oh dear. What does a clock do when it gets hungry? It goes back for 4 seconds. Oh man. Yeah. Broken pencils are pointless. Right. Behind me is 3 optical illusions. You may have seen these in the past. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. So who wants to stick the first one on the screen for me? When looking at this optical illusion, are you seeing black dots in the middle of the little white lines? Yeah, they don't exist. Those black dots don't exist. That's your brain putting black dots in those little white circles. We're going to go to the next one. That grey box in the middle, yeah, it's the same color all the way across. It's the same color. That grey box in the middle is the same color all the way across. If you don't believe me, put your hand up in a rectangle, up to the screen. Put your hand in a little rectangle, and then just mark out that box. Yeah. Oh, is it all of a sudden making the same color? Yeah, yeah. How interesting. Go to the next one. Next one. All those lines are straight. No, they are. No, they are. They're all perfectly straight. Isn't it totally wild that your eyes can see something, but your brain interprets it different? See, these illustrations prove that not everything that we perceive is actually real or helpful. Our minds can sometimes trick us. In the same way we run a spiritual race, sometimes things look good. They feel right, they seem urgent, but they're just not true. They're illusions, and if we focus on them, things like comparing ourselves to others or chasing approval or getting distracted by comfort, we can often drift off course. See, Paul in the New Testament is somebody who loved this illustration of running a race. He loved the illustration of running a race. As you're reading through those letters, he scatters it throughout. He actually includes it in 5 of the 12 letters that he wrote. And the one we're going to pin it on today, if you've got a Bible on you, if you've got one next to you or on the screen behind you, we're just going to bring up 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 24 and onwards. So I'll give you a moment just to find it. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 24. And it goes like this. Don't you know that the runners in a stadium all race, but only one receives the prize? Run in such a way as to win the prize. Now, everyone who competes exercises self-control in everything. They do it to receive a perishable crown, but we an imperishable crown. So don't run like someone who runs aimlessly, or box like someone beating the air. Instead, I discipline my body and bring it under strict control, so that after preaching to others, I myself will not be disqualified. Paul likes to talk about this illustration of a race, a metaphor for life being a race. So I think it's important then that we understand what Paul's trying to get to. The message he's trying to speak. And we then think about how we are running our life. See, are we getting tricked by the illusions of life, interpreting things wrong based on what we see, or are we running in a way that is meant to be getting the prize, to win, to get the goal, just as we were singing in that last song? Jesus, you are the prize. You are the goal. So today, don't worry, I've made it as easy as I can. That's good. Turn to the person next to you and say, Pastor Ben's made it as easy as he can this morning. So this morning, I have an acronym. And the acronym is RACE. Turn to the person next to you and say, RACE. There we go. Easy peasy. You're never going to forget it. The first one, the R, stands to resist distraction. R stands to resist distraction. A is alignment with the goal. C is to cultivate endurance. And E is to elevate your ears. Well, let's start with the first one then. What was the first one? Already, guys, already. I made it easy. No, sorry. Resist distraction. R for resist distraction. See, humans, we're great at being distracted, aren't we? It's almost like my super talent. Is anyone like me? You're tidying a room, yeah? You've got some pots or some clothes or something. And then you move through another room to go and put the pots or clothes in another room as you're tidying up. And then just start tidying that room instead. And I started hoovering, but by the end of it, I've washed the pots, I've put the toothbrushes back, I've washed my hair, and I never actually get back to the very thing that I started trying to do because I'm just so distracted. I think life is just about distractions. And for instance, funny enough, Winston Churchill nailed it on the head. I love this quote. He said, "You will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks." Distraction is the enemy of direction. Distraction is the enemy of direction. Well, how do we then get distracted? How does our spiritual race get distracted? Well, the first thing is whilst you're running, you're comparing your race to somebody else's. It's true. You're running along and then you're looking at how they're running. And they're like, oh, they've got a longer stride than me. And they swing their arms a bit further than me. And they're going a bit faster than me. And by the time you realize, you've tripped up because you're comparing yourself and your race to somebody else's. Do not compare yourself to others. They are running their race and you are running yours. Now, it's healthy to look at somebody momentarily, to read a podcast, to have a book on what is a healthy spiritual life, healthy habits to have in place. But if you spend the whole of your life comparing your race to somebody else's, you're never looking ahead. You've got to run your race, the race that's been set out for you by God. Hebrews 12 verses 1 says, "Let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race that is marked out for us. That's interesting. I'm going to say it again. Let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race that has been marked out for us. Paul makes a distinction here between two things. He says, throw off the things that hinder us. You see, not everything that hinders us is sin. Makes the distinction. There are some things in life that are sinful. They will affect your walk and your race with God. But there are other things that are just hindering your race. They're not directly in themselves sinful, but they're just hindering your race. They may be slowing you down. Who knows? This is social media for me. Social media. Addiction to things. Games, my phone, laptop, work, overcommitment to people, busyness of life, pursuit. Maybe after all of that, I'm so busy, all I want out of that is comfort. Just want to be comfortable. Just want to find a comfortable life. There's no pressure. And these things in themselves are not sinful. They are not sinful. Everything, Chris is going to have to remind me, not everything is beneficial. Things. There we go. It's one of Chris's favorite because every time I'm talking about my life, Chris just preaches to me about that. Everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. You've got to be careful that the thing that is starting to hinder doesn't become sinful. What in your life, when it comes to distractions, can you throw off? What can you throw off? Richard, you can't throw off Justine. It's not how it works. You've picked her up. You've got to run with her now. What can you throw off? What is hindering your race? What is slowing you down? And what is distracting you from looking ahead? Stop comparing yourself to others. Stop the addictions that hinder your life, the comfort or overcommitment. Let's throw it away. Because we get too tired and too overburdened if we're focusing on those things. That's the first one. Resist distraction. R. A. Align with the goal. It's so important when you're running a race that you align yourself. All good runners run the same path. Have you ever watched runners before? Like professional runners when they're on the path. Do they all just run across the road? No. They want to get the wind resistance behind each other. They're like all in a line. And then all of a sudden like one does like a weird overtake. And it's like, and they're all like going back again. It's the weirdest thing, isn't it? And they're all like skipping all over the place. And then they're all back on the... But this method to the madness. They have got their line and they're trying to make perfect lines around corners. They're getting this streamlined. They've got their people in front of them. They know the pace that they're going. You've got to align with the goal. Well, what is the goal? Well, Paul talks about this in Philippians chapter 3, verses 14. He says, I press on towards the goal. Well, what's the goal, Paul? To win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. That is the prize. That is the goal. To press on towards it heavenward with Jesus Christ. Paul makes it very clear. We are all running a race. We are all participants in this race. You are not a bystander in this life. You are running this race. So don't allow yourself to get distracted and find what is an alignment with God. Heaven bound, heavenward in Jesus Christ. See, a lot of people are running the race, but they don't know what they're running for. They don't know what they're running after. Their goal changes, the line changes, the location changes. People start to run after all sorts of things. They're running after pleasure. They're running after wealth, after money, after food, after the temporary things, after power. But we know that our alignment is to run heavenward, isn't it? To run heavenward. We need to be aligned to a life that runs with Christ. You see, a life that runs with Christ is confident. Jesus doesn't give a life of confusion when running. We should know that we can run in confidence towards that goal. Paul calls us to press on. And that's going to bring us then into the next. So R was to resist distraction. A was to align with the goal. C is to cultivate endurance. Cultivate endurance. Now, I'm one of those weird people, and you might join me as well, that occasionally like to do stupid things just to prove that I can do it. I think everyone's got a little bit in them. And I don't run very often. I used to run a lot more than I did. I used to be a lot more fit and go to the gym. And occasionally I've done a little bit more here and there. I've joined the gym again, and I'm doing bits. But a couple of months ago, I just thought, I need to go for a really long run just to prove that I can do it. And I'm not going to go for an easy run. I'm going to run up Hena Hill. I don't know why, because I'm stupid. And at that point, I probably hadn't ran a long distance for about a year. But the only thing I had in my head is just, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. And I got about halfway up the hill, and I thought, Ben, this is the most stupid thing you've ever thought in your life. Why, who are you trying to prove anything to? You're going to kill yourself. You're unfit. Your shoes are hurting. What? Why? And then I just had this moment where I just looked up. And I'm hoping most people know what Hena Hill is. I'm pretty sure. People online have got no idea. Well, it's quite a steep hill. And I'm going to give myself the benefit of the doubt. It's fairly steep. It's not stupid, but it's got a bit of an incline to it. And I'm halfway up this hill, and I just looked up God, you've got to get me through this. And I looked up, and the church at the top of the hill was just the most beautiful thing that I'd ever seen. I don't know if the sun was behind it. It was a beautiful, the blue clouds, and that church was just radiant there. And at that point, I just stopped, and I just fixed my eyes on that church, and I just ran. And I just made sure every single foot just went into the concrete, through the pain, through the backache, through the tireless breaths. I've got to get to the church. And I feel like that in life, when it comes to cultivating endurance, we forget that our spiritual run is just the same. That there's periods in our life that are tough. They're challenging. They're grueling. Trust me, sometimes when I get up in the morning, I don't want to read my Bible. And sometimes when I get up in the morning, I don't want to pray. I just want to get on with my day. I want to get a cup of tea and I want to go to work. And sometimes when I get up in the morning, I don't want to be nice to people. Why do we have to be nice to people? Can't we just treat them how they treat us? So much easier. But that is when you have to just fix your eyes on the cross. And you just dig in, and you dig in, and you dig in. Because these are the times that create endurance. These are the times where you're allowing your body to, he says, I beat my body into submission. And it's the weirdest phrasing, but it only really works in a running context. You're forcing yourself to do something which at the time feels uncomfortable, painful even. But in the long run, you know that there will be a downhill. There will be the downhill moment. Trust me, I ran up the hill. I ran around Hena Memorial before nearly passing out. And then I ran back down Hena Hill. And it was glorious. And I just thanked God all the way down. I didn't have to work. I just enjoyed it. Run as such as a way to get the prize. They do it, you see. They do it to get the crown that's not going to last. But we do it to get the crown that will last. Come on, run for that crown. Run for the end when you can put that crown on and you can, this is all glory to God. The prize isn't my own prize. God, I'm giving it back to you, Jesus Christ. I want to have a moment with you. It's these moments that define our walk. You see, these are the moments that stretch your spiritual muscles and build endurance. See, it's easy to follow Jesus when the spiritual ground is flat. When life is smooth, when your worship playlist is on point, and when prayers are always getting answered. But when you hit the hill, you've just got to remember that the church is at the top. That's the goal. That's the prize. That is why we run. As to cultivate endurance. Don't let your momentary pain talk you out of an eternal reward. Don't let your momentary pain talk you out of the eternal reward. We've done 3. We're doing well, aren't we? Can we remember them? So R stands for resist distractions. A stands for align with the goal. Align with the goal. C stands for cultivate endurance. You see, you guys can preach to me. You're doing great. E, this is so important. So important. You've got to elevate your ears. You've got to elevate those ears. Why? Because when you're running a race, has anyone ever run a race before? I bet most people have ran. Maybe some people have competitively run a half marathon or a couple of K run. You run off that line and all of a sudden it gets loud. People are cheering and it gets noisy, and you go through segments where people are screaming, yeah, you can do this, and celebrate, and it gets loud. It's the exact same with your spiritual walk. The voices are always loud. The crowd is loud. The critics are loud. Your own thoughts, trust me, they are loud. And the enemy, he is always trying to be loud in your life. You see, victory depends on which voice you're listening to. Victory will depend on which voice you're listening to. Are you elevating yourself by listening up? Are you listening up? Are you tuning into God's frequency? Or are you allowing those around you to have a bigger voice in your life? You've got to be so careful. And the best way to illustrate this is a story that I have spoken millions of times. But there's an ancient and a still fairly modern story that talks about the Middle Eastern practice. There was shepherds that come together. There's 3 clumps of shepherds. They would often bring the sheep to the same watering hole or the same grazing field. And then all of the different sheep would kind of mingle together. So you would pretty much indistinguish, you're not going to know whose sheep's your sheep. Unless it's like Dave. I know Dave, my sheep. But in thousands of sheep, you're not going to know who the sheep are. And in this indistinguishable flock, there is one remarkable moment. And that the second that the shepherd leaves and says one word, one whisper, one whistle, all the sheep follow him. Why? Because they know his voice. They know his song. They know the shepherd's voice. John 10 verses 27, my sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. It's so true. If you're not listening to the voice of God, then you're not listening to the right voices. Man's voice is good. God can use voices through other people, but I want it from the source. I want it from the source. If someone can give me water from the source, I want it from the source. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He is the living water. I want it from him. And that needs to be my found out. When I want to listen to somebody's voice, first and foremost of everyone, I want to listen to God's. And what he's speaking over me and my race and my run, the way that I'm running my life. C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity says, the moment you wake up each morning, all your wishes and hopes for the day rush at you like wild animals. And the first job each morning consists of simply shoving them all back and listening to that other voice. You've got to be careful, because God's voice, just like a shepherd's, is calm and controlled and sometimes comes in the whisper. And if you want to hear the whisper of the shepherd, you've got to calm all the other voices down and allow his to cut through, because his is the only one who's going to give you the confidence. All the rest will only confuse. Who knows, when you start to listen to too many people, it gets confusing. Ask 10 people opinions on something and you'll get 10 different answers. But God has the right answer, so we should listen to him. I want to run, and that's it. RACE. If we can just start to grasp some elements of what Paul was trying to talk about when running our spiritual race, it will transform the way that we live. It will transform the way that we live. When we start to allow the distractions of life to be put away, when we allow to align ourselves with the goal that God has for us and us individually, not comparing ourselves to other people's callings, when we allow to cultivate the endurance of life, life's hard. We've got to push through at times. In E, we've got to make sure that we elevate our ears. Hebrews 12 again then says this. Hebrews 12:1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great crowd of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. And let us run with perseverance the race that's marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne. Jesus Christ is the one that I want to run after. He's my goal. He's my prize. He's the one I want to get a crown off. I don't want anybody else's crown. I don't want anybody else's well dones. I want Jesus Christ's well dones. Amen? Awesome. Should we finish with a song today? Let's do that.